My wife and I have been married for 4 years now, coming on 5. We have generally had a good relationship and a good marriage. We had a reasonably expensive wedding which we're still paying for now. I get the bill every month to prove it. My wife took charge of the planning of the wedding, so it was to her tastes. She seemed to enjoy it at the time, and for the first few years of our marriage, she would look back at the wedding with me happily without issues. In recent months, I've noticed my wife's attitude to A, our wedding, and B, our marriage itself, to shift. It began by her, I thought jokingly, referring to herself as my girlfriend. She told me to buy her a girlfriend card for Valentine's Day rather than a wife one, for example. I thought she was just playing around at first, but this behaviour has only escalated. 2 months ago, my wife stopped wearing her wedding ring and I was understandably upset and asked if there was something wrong. She told me everything was fine and she just doesn't like the sensation of the jewellery on her hands. My wife has never liked rings and jewellery, so this could be the case. But when we are with friends, my wife will get upset if I talk about her as my wife, rather than just a girlfriend. She will go as far as to interrupt me if I am talking and telling a story to correct me on our relationship. Initially, this was something our friends laughed at, but now everybody just finds it understandably awkward. One of our friends was talking about their own wedding, which is scheduled for early next year. They asked for advice from my wife about how she planned ours, and my wife responded with, "What wedding?" When our friend continued talking about the table of decorations my wife had used, my wife visibly teared up in front of the whole group and she had to step outside. Later that evening, I asked her directly if she has a problem with our relationship or if I'm doing something wrong in our marriage. She assured me that everything is fine between us. From my perspective, outside this issue, our relationship is as strong as ever. We are considering kids in the future, our sex life is great, and my wife recently suggested we get matching tattoos as a renewal of our love. Is there advice anyone can offer on why my wife might be acting like this and what I should do? I can understand the confusion the OP must be feeling from reading this post, in that, on the one hand, it would appear he's in a loving relationship, yet on the other hand, there are times where his wife can be completely cold towards him. There's definitely an issue in my opinion that his wife is facing, and it could be either that she doesn't want to face the fact that they are actually married. However, what is more likely is the fact that she genuinely believes that they're not married, and this could be the result of some trauma or physical issue in the brain. I would advise that the OP sit his wife down and be very gentle with her when discussing this issue, as she could feel helpless or embarrassed about the situation. I would suggest showing support to her and asking if she genuinely believes that they are not married, and if so, why she thinks this way. This conversation should either reveal how she's truly feeling or an underlying medical issue which would require attention immediately. Some of the most helpful and insightful comments I found on this post were as follows. Agreed. It could be as serious as a physical issue or a means of coping with something that she did, either a concern with the cost of the wedding or it could be postpartum to the wedding. Obviously, this is a serious issue if she's completely denying it, but there are a lot of women who spend so much time of their life planning the perfect wedding that when it's over, there's some anxiety and depression akin to what some athletes get when winning gold in the Olympics. It's over. That's it. You do it once and it's not happening again. Her approach to just simply denying it ever happened is odd, and there could be underlying issues as to why, but it seems like she might be upset that the wedding and celebration is all over and they're still paying for it. Either that or she cheated and has completely snapped and prefers to rather believe she cheated on her boyfriend rather than her husband. Another post wrote, "You need to sit down with her and seriously make sure she's okay. This sounds like she could have had a breakdown and needs some help." This was followed up by someone saying, "Or a brain tumour. This happened to a friend of mine and he started losing parts of his memory. He had a brain tumour the size of a kiwi that they had to remove." Another post wrote, "If she got upset when friends talked to her about the table decorations, it sounds like the OP's wife genuinely believes they are not married. As per other comments, meds or other health issues can cause this. Go to a doctor. I know 2 people who acted weird and did really crazy and dangerous things totally out of character because their meds had messed up their calcium levels. Go to a doctor." This was followed up by someone saying, "This. She is displaying confusion when discussing the wedding and your relationship. This sounds like a medical issue, physical or mental. She needs medical attention immediately." Another post wrote, "This sounds like a serious mental health crisis. I would schedule an appointment with a trusted physician to first rule out any physical injury or issue that could be causing this somewhat sudden outset of denial, and request scans of her head to rule out anything serious. If she's otherwise physically healthy, then it's time to see a psychologist. Either way, I suggest you be gentle with her at the moment. I would avoid confronting her about this topic. The fact that she said, 'What wedding?' and had teared up leads me to believe that there is something very serious happening to her, whether it's physical or mental, and in either case, you are definitely not equipped to handle it. If she's on the brink of some kind of emotional collapse, you don't want to be the one who pushes her over the edge by demanding answers or forcing her to look at photos of the wedding that she can't remember. As someone who has personally experienced some very serious mental health problems that included a sudden loss of short-term memory, I cannot tell you just how scary it is to feel betrayed by your own mind like that. Get her some help immediately. Good luck, OP." And finally, another post wrote, "Okay, first off, let me say how sorry I am to hear you're going through this. Over a year and a half ago, I took it a step further by dropping the bomb on my family with divorce. My wife and I at the time were married for 10 years. For me, this feeling came out of nowhere. I love my wife dearly and wouldn't be able to live without her. After she let me run with it for a month or 3, in which I even moved out the house and moved in with my dad, she finally got me to move back in and agreed to testing at the neurological department. This led to a complete rundown of everything in my head, and I'm afraid to say that it was the cause. I had been diagnosed with FTD, frontal temporal dementia. This changed me in ways that my family and friends and even myself couldn't and still can't fathom. I'm not saying your wife has the same, but it really sounds horribly familiar. Have you ever explored medical options, even if just for yourself regarding your wife's behaviour? If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask."